Okay, my kiddos, we are gonna try a little bit of science today. Woohoo! I'm gonna try to give you a really quick science lesson. This is a really hard concept, but I'm gonna try my best to explain it super fast, okay? So pay close attention because you need to understand this before we get started with our experiment. Today we're going to be looking at different liquids. Liquids like water. Liquids are things that move and flow. So we're going to be layering different liquids to see which one has more density. Ms. Cortez, what is density? I'm going to explain it to you right now. So look at my whiteboard over here. So I want to start by telling you that everything on Earth, everything that we can touch, is made up of a cool thing called atoms. Not atom like the name, atoms. Okay, in atoms, there are these tiny little building blocks that make up everything we can touch. So my phone is made up of atoms, this board is made up of atoms, this eraser is made up of atoms. So atoms, they're these tiny, tiny, tiny little molecules. They're tiny. They're so tiny that we can't see them with just our eye. We'd have to look at them through this like really strong microscope. So I can't look at this little measuring cup and say how many atoms it has. They're too tiny. So this is an atom, this is an atom, and this is an atom. When atoms come together, they form what's called a molecule. Okay? I've never actually seen a molecule with my own eyes. We'd have to look through a telescope, but you have to imagine that molecules are these tiny, smaller than that dot. A molecule would be smaller than that dot. So atoms come together, even though they look big right here, they're really tiny. They come together to form this tiny little molecule. Okay? This tiny, 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 tiny little molecule. Say that with me, molecule. So atoms make molecules, and molecules are tiny. Okay? Atoms make molecules, and then molecules make up things. Anything that we can touch is made up of molecules. So like I told you, this pencil is made up of these tiny, tiny little things. That's what makes it hard. Okay? This eraser is made up of tiny, tiny little molecules. That's why we can feel it. If it didn't have molecules, we wouldn't be able to touch it. We wouldn't be able to feel it. That's what lets us feel it. Okay, everything that you can touch and feel is made up of these tiny, tiny little molecules. They're so small. Now, some things have more molecules than others, and some things have molecules that are tighter together. I'm going to give you some examples. Are you ready? So, we're talking about molecules. If I have a cup of water, this is my cup of water. Ooh, Miss Cortez, good job. The water is made up of molecules. These tiny little things, they look big here because I'm drawing them for you, but you have to imagine they're so small. And they're floating along in my water. That's why I can touch water. I could feel it. It feels wet, right? So then I'm going to give you an example of something a little bit harder. Let's say, for example, I'm just going to say my pencil, okay? I'm going to draw, you know what? I'm going to draw a rock. That'll be easy. A rock is hard. Okay, this is my rock, and my rock is also made up of molecules, but the molecules in my rock are so close together. Look at the molecules over here, and look at the molecules in my rock. They're so close together. There's not a lot of space in between them. And you know what happens when molecules are so close together? It makes things hard. So when molecules are close together, it makes something harder. So that's why a rock is harder than water, because the molecules are like all scrunched together. There's no space. So that's why a rock is harder than water. Today we're going to be testing liquids. So we're going to be testing different liquids, and we're going to see which liquid has molecules that are closer together? Okay, so we're going to test and see which one has molecules that are closer together. Let's see. Okay, so let's imagine things that are less dense, like water. So if I had my water again, and then I had my rock, which one has more molecules? Well, they might have the same, but the rock has them closer together, right? So that's going to make my rock heavier. So if I put my rock in water, it's going to sink. So the things that have closer molecules are heavier. Does that make sense? So if something has closer molecules, it's heavier. So if I put this rock in water, it's going to sink all the way to the bottom. So today we're going to try and we're going to see which liquid has molecules that are closer together. Okay? So this, I know you're probably like, what, Miss Cortez? This is called more dense because it has closer molecules, and this water is less dense. So if it has molecules that are closer together, we say it's more dense. If it has molecules that are further apart, we say that it's less dense. So today we're going to figure out which liquids are more dense and which ones are less dense. So which one is going to have molecules closer together and which one's going to have its molecules more spread out and flowing. Okay, let's get started. So today we're going to use a couple of things. And if you want to do this at your house when you have time, maybe this weekend you can make sure that you have all the materials, great. Right now I'm just going to do it and you're going to watch. And then if you get your parents' help and they get you the things that you need, then maybe you can recreate this experiment at your house. So remember, we're looking to see which liquid is more dense and which one is less dense. More dense means all the little molecules are so close together. Less dense means the molecules are separate and they're floating around. Okay? So let's get started. We're going to need a cup, and actually I'm going to keep my cup here. We're going to need a cup that's a little bit straight, something to mix with. We need something to measure with. I'm using a measuring cup that has 1/3 of a cup, but even that's too much. So it's going to be up to you, but you need the measuring cup because you're going to need the same amount for every liquid that we choose. Okay, so you need your measuring cup. We need some syrup. Okay, some syrup. I'm using some pancake syrup. You need some water. We're going to test some alcohol, some rubbing alcohol. We're also going to be testing some dish soap. So these are all liquids, and we're going to see which one is more dense. And we're also going to test some oil, some vegetable oil. This one's corn oil, but just you can test some cooking oil. Okay. Before we start, I want you to think about all the liquids that I just showed you. So I'm going to say them to you one more time. And I want you to make a prediction because good scientists always make predictions. And a prediction is like a guess. It's a guess what you think is going to happen. So I want you to predict. Remember, we're looking to see which liquid has molecules that are closer together. And whichever liquid has molecules that are closer together is going to sink to the bottom because it's going to be heavier. If the molecules are separate and they're floating around, the liquid's going to come to the top. So I want you to think, which of these liquids do you think is going to sink to the bottom? Is it going to be the syrup? So you tell me. I'm going to show you all of them. And I want you to think, which one do you think is going to go all the way to the bottom? And which one do you think is going to go all the way to the top? So which one do you think is going to have the more molecules closer together, and which one's going to have molecules separate? Okay, so we have syrup. Do you think this is going to go all the way to the bottom? We have water. We have rubbing alcohol. We have vegetable oil or corn oil, cooking oil. And we have some dish soap. Which one of those do you think is going to go all the way to the bottom, and which one do you think is going to go all the way to the top? I want you to make your prediction right now. And we're going to get started. Okay, first, we are going to put some water in our jar. So we're going to put some water in our cup. And let me see if I can move this so you can see it a little bit better. It's just going to be angled a little bit like that for you. Okay. So first I'm going to put some water in my cup. Give me 1 second. Oh no, just kidding. We're not putting water first. Sorry. We're going to put some syrup. So I'm going to get my measuring cup and I'm going to measure. This is a lot. It's a 1/3 of a cup, but it's a lot. So I think I'm going to take my cup and I'm going to fill it up about halfway. Okay? So I'm going to fill with the syrup about halfway so I can make sure that I have the same amounts. Okay, I went a little more than halfway. And then I'm going to pour this into my cup. And we're going to watch it go. I'm going to let that go. And I'm sorry, I'm going to move my camera and see if I can give you a better angle because that's not so great. Oh boy. Right there. Okay. And next we're going to add some, let's see. We're going to pour some dishwashing soap. So the next liquid we're going to pour, and we're going to pour about the same amount that we did with the syrup. So I'm going to take my measuring cup and I'm going to fill it with about the same amount of dishwashing soap that I did the syrup. Oh, that was a lot. Okay, I have my dishwashing soap and we're going to pour it in and we're going to see what happens. What do you think is going to happen? Let me erase this. Okay, let's pour in our dishwashing soap and see what's going to happen. Look at that, boys and girls. The soap is floating to the top. And the syrup is going to the bottom. Okay, the next liquid that we're going to put in there, let's see if it looks any different from the top. Nope, it looks like soap and let's see. Look at that. Okay, the next liquid that we're going to use is water. Let's see. Okay, now we're going to use some water, and we're going to use some food coloring for our water, because if we just use the water, then we're not going to be able to see the color. So we're going to take our measuring cup. Okay, take your measuring cup, and then we're going to put about the same amount of water that we put in of all the other liquids. And then I'm going to add some food coloring to my water so that we can see where the water is going. I'm going to pick some red for my water. Some red. So I'm just going to add a few drops of red food coloring. And we're going to mix so that our water is colored. And then once our food coloring is mixed, we're going to pour it into our cup and see what happens. Remember, if the molecules are far apart, the liquid's going to go to the top. If the molecules are really close to each other, the liquid is going to sink to the bottom. So let's see where this water goes. What happened to the water? Is it mixing? We have some layers. Okay, the next liquid that we're going to add, let's see. I think we have the oils still. Let's see. Okay, now we're going to throw in our oil. So the oil we're not going to color. We're just going to use it like that. So I'm going to take my cup again, and I'm going to put about the same amount that I did of all the other liquids. So my oil's a little bit yellow. And let's see what happens when we drop in the oil. Are you ready? Let's see. What's happened to the oil? We're gonna mix it a little bit. And we're gonna give it a moment to settle. Okay, and the last liquid we're gonna pour in is our rubbing alcohol. Now our rubbing alcohol is clear also. It has no color, so we're gonna add some food coloring to that also. And I need to open mine up. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. Pour about the same amount of rubbing alcohol into your measuring cup. Okay, I have my rubbing alcohol. And this one you need to be careful with because it's very potent, the smell. I'm gonna color my rubbing alcohol blue. So I'm gonna add 1, 2 drops of food coloring in my rubbing alcohol. Look at that. I wish you could see the color, how intense it looks. Look at that. And then we're gonna mix that food coloring. And then when it's all mixed in, we're gonna drop it in and we're gonna see where it goes. Are you ready? Let's see where this blue rubbing alcohol goes. Do you see what's happening? Oh my goodness, look at that. What's happening to that blue? Where is it going? Where is that blue going? Watch it. What's happening? It's moving, but where is it going? Okay, so I want you to look. These are layered. They're all liquids. And I thought that if we mixed all of our liquids, then they would all mix together and they would make one big color. But instead, it kind of looks like layers. We have one color down here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. They didn't mix. So which liquid went all the way to the bottom and which liquid went all the way to the top? Was your prediction right? So it looks to me like the syrup went all the way to the bottom. I wish I could show you the colors a little bit better. Look it. Okay. And let me see if the lamp here helps. Look at the colors. Look at what happened. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like the syrup went all the way to the bottom, and then at the very top, we have our lightest color, that light yellow, which was our vegetable oil. We have our vegetable oil there. So that means that the syrup has the most density. Its atoms are the ones that are closer together. And the vegetable oil here has the atoms that are further apart and they're flowing. Okay? So then this is more dense and this is less dense. Let's see what happens if I try to mix them up because it looks like they're not mixing. Do you want to find out what happens? I don't know. Let's see. Swirl, swirl, swirl. Let's see if they mix. Ooh, that looks cool. What's happening here? Oh my goodness. What is happening? What do you see happening here? What happened to that top layer? Why did it come back up? Look, it didn't mix. And then at the bottom, we still have the syrup. I see some purple in here. It's forming layers again. How cool. And I wish you could see, if you try this at home and you look really closely, you can see that the oil is rising back up all on its own. And you could see little pieces of the oil just coming back up. Even though we tried to mix it together, it's coming back up. And then the syrup, even though we mixed it, the syrup went back down because it's the heaviest. It's the most dense. I guess, yeah, the most dense. Huh, very cool. All right, boys and girls. Well, that's it. I hope that you get the chance to try this at home. And if you don't, then that's okay. At least you got to try it here with us. Please don't drink this. Do not drink this, okay? As soon as you're done, that needs to go down the sink. Don't put it in your eyes. Okay, pour it down the sink. Wash your cup. Wash your hands. And then make sure you put away all the supplies that you used for this experiment. Okay? All right, boys and girls. See you later.